The package came in a long box, inside of which was the camera and light unit, camera base, black mat, and relevant cables and screws, as well as instructions for putting it together. It took less than 5 minutes to put together and connect it. But the scanner doesn't work without the free OfficeCam software from Viisan, so I downloaded and installed that too. It became apparent fairly quickly that the overhead lights in the camera unit, which have 3 brightness settings, weren't suitable for covering the full extent of an A2 newspaper spread. I relocated 2 daylight lamps from my sewing room and put one on each side of the mat, and they certainly helped a lot. Initially, we had issues with trying to deal with the center gutter and the curve it created in the page, and we were grabbing the newspaper edges and pulling them tight, as shown in the documentation. But this wasn't going to be ergonomically sound for any length of time. There had to be another solution for flattening the gutter. I figured a piece of glass would work, but it couldn't be too large as it would be too cumbersome for each double-page spread. Then I had the bright idea of popping into an art framer's shop and asking if they had any offcuts of non-reflective glass that might work. Not only did they have an offcut that was suitable, but they didn't even charge me for it, as it was waste for them. The other thing we discovered was that the oldest newspapers had many black lines around articles, etc., and these confused the OfficeCam software. We hadn't discovered the straight fitting option at this stage. A trip to the hardware store found me coming home with large pieces of corflute or similar. Black and white pieces were good for masking edges if required, and 2 pieces of black created a small dip for the gutter to fall into. Yellow was excellent for getting better color resolution, especially for colored single pages, such as front and back pages. An essential for me was kitchen gloves. They gave me better grip on the newspaper, and the printing ink came off on the gloves and not my hands. I think I went through about 5 boxes of 100 gloves. Finally, you need to make sure you have adequate space for the scanning. In our case, we needed space for a decent office chair, a laptop and its monitor, keyboard, mouse, and other peripherals, plus desk space for the scanning mat and camera, and side lights if you use them, as well as space for the pile of newspapers to be worked on, and those completed. I had a corner desk area in my office, which was perfect. Had we been working along one straight desk, I think we'd have got neck and shoulder pain from twisting between the monitor, keyboard and mouse, and turning the pages on the mat and positioning the glass. This photo of my setup shows the daylight lamps on each side of the mat, with the camera mounted on its base and centered behind the mat, the black upright bit with its top cut off. There's a newspaper laid out on the mat, with a piece of clear glass covering the gutter and pressing down the natural curves of the pages. Remember, some of these newspapers have been in storage for 40 years and haven't been opened in that time. This next section shows the different light coverage of the daylight lamps, the black corflute sheets, the non-reflective glass, and the use of yellow corflute for better color resolution. I used 2 daylight lamps, one at the center of each side of the mat. I tried putting them at the back, but that gave the same amount of coverage as the camera on the scanner. Lights on the side worked best for this project. I cut 2 pieces of black corflute a little smaller than A3 size and put them on each side of the mat. The newspaper sits on top of these. Why? Corflute is slipperier than the mat, and so it's easier to make small positioning adjustments to the pages. And the gap between the corflute sheets provides a place for the middle of the newspaper to drop into, which helps reduce curves at the center gutter of a 2-page spread. The other addition is the long strip of non-reflective glass that I use to flatten the gutter curves even more. I can usually align the glass so that its edges lie in the white space between the columns, which helps reduce any slight shadow from the glass on the text. For better color resolution for a single page, I found that I got much better results if I covered one side of the black mat with a color such as yellow. For example, the center of this cover page is fuzzy and the colors are a little washed out. When I add the yellow corflute, The camera adjusts the color resolution, making the page much clearer.